We are going to go ahead and get started. So let me introduce myself. My name is Dua. I'm the Training and Learning Program Manager here at Tempo. And I will also introduce the great experts that we have here on the call. So we've got Cheryl, one of our onboarding specialists, who is going to be our presenter today and share her knowledge. We also have Noura, who's a technical customer support, and she will be answering your questions in the background. So like I said, make sure to utilize that question box. All right, and in our session today, we're going to go over road mapping and road mapping best practices in general. We'll spend most of our time in demo more than slides, and we will also take a quick look at portfolio road mapping. All right, and I think I'm okay to pass it on to you, Cheryl, and we've got a good number of attendees already, so I believe we can get started.
Sure, thank you very much, Due. So, today we're going to be discussing roadmaps, Roadmap 101. What is a roadmap? A roadmap is a high-level visual representation of a strategy, answers questions of what, who, when, and how about your key deliverables. So it gives you that ability to take your data, show that high-level view, and make multiple visualizations that are beautiful, board-ready, and able to communicate your message to specific audiences. And Roadmunk is very user-friendly, makes beautiful visualizations that you can use paletted colors or custom color palettes. It's very flexible. It's shareable. You can share internally within your Roadmunk account. There are also multiple ways that you can share externally to external audiences, and it is supportive. And what we're going to go over the elements of a successful roadmap. So we're going to touch on roadmap naming conventions. We'll talk about account fields and how you can standardize them and best manage them. Role management, as well as we're going to touch on template building and how that can be advantageous to building out your roadmaps and standardizing them. So first, we're going to talk about roadmap naming conventions. Okay, we do have a recommended structure for roadmap naming conventions. First, we recommend a tier 1. So this we usually recommend the department that this roadmap is for. Then a tier 2, and we recommend maybe what team this roadmap is for. And then tier 3, what this roadmap is about. So is it an engineering roadmap? Is it a product management roadmap? Is it a roadmap that is covering Q3 to Q4 2023? So this would be an example of a name that you could use. So Roadmunk, it's for the product team, and it's for our product managers, and it's going to be for the fiscal years of 2023-24. You find that if you make roadmap naming conventions and you use a convention that is adopted by the rest of your team, and then everything is neat and tidy, follows alphabetical when you look at your list of roadmaps. And then as well, it's much easier to choose which roadmaps you want to use from source roadmaps roll up into a portfolio roadmap, which combines 2 or more source roadmaps together. So then we're going to talk about field management. So fields within roadmaps are those pivot points that hold values that you are going to organize your roadmaps with, such as status. So status would be a field, and it's going to hold values such as in progress, backlog, up next, and done. So those are what your fields are. Now, there are 2 different types of fields within Roadmunk. One is a roadmap field, which belongs just to that roadmap that you're working on. The other is an account field. Account field is available throughout your Roadmunk account. So not only you have access to it on your roadmap, but your team members or other teams have access to those fields as well. Account fields would be very common fields, such as status. You're using common terms to use when you're talking about status. Okay, now we suggest a naming convention for fields as well, because as you can see here, we have 3 columns named status. Well, who's to use those columns? We have two fields named themes, and who's to use those? So we can see that if you use a naming convention, you can see that all people along the account can use this account field called status because they're common values, common terms that mean status. And here you can see that this is for our marketing team under theme. And this is for our product management team under theme, because each team needs to use a field called theme, but the values are different within those fields. So that's why if you standardize the naming conventions, then you can make all of these naming conventions in the fields more applicable to the teams that are going to be using those account fields. Okay, so next we're going to touch on custom templates. So within Roadmunk, your account manager can create templates for you. And then when they are ready there for you to use to start your roadmap out with. And account administrators will pick out those account fields that are going to start off your roadmaps. So that'll be sure that everybody is using those standardized account fields. And this will come into play too when you're creating your portfolio roadmaps, because you're choosing 2 or more source roadmaps that roll up into one. So therefore, by using custom templates, everybody will be using the correct account fields, which will then roll up nice and neat into a portfolio when you're pulling several roadmaps together. Okay, and that brings us to portfolio road mapping, which I will as well show you in the demo. But as I mentioned, it is when you take 2 or more source roadmaps and make one larger roadmap with it. And the best practices are using account level fields and fields that are standardized so they can be shared in all roadmaps. And this allows for consistency and organizational vertical alignment. So when you are using all those fields, you roll them up into a portfolio, you're not having to do a bunch of cleanup and move values back and forth because everybody is using the same field. All right, so we are going to start with our demonstration. I'm going to share my Roadmunk screen with you now. And I'm going to start with a bit of navigation. I like to point out a few important areas that'll be helpful to you when using Roadmunk. So first we have our account settings over on our lower left-hand side. And when you pop into account settings, the one thing that I always point out to our end users is here's your profile, right? And then under email notifications, this is where you want to check off these notifications. And this makes sure that when a roadmap is shared with you, when you're tagged in a mentioned comment on a roadmap, or when a task is assigned to you on a roadmap, that you will get an email in your inbox notifying you that this has happened, okay? So definitely check off those email notifications. All right, the rest of these tabs up here are for account administrators, and look into in the future, we also hold account administrator based webinars as well, okay? Next up is our support center. This is where you can go to get learning resources or contact our technical support team. Our help center is our knowledge-based articles. So if you want to self-learn, you can come in here, put in a key term, and you'll be able to find a lot of information that you're looking for in our knowledge base. As well, contact us, gets you directly to our technical support team. And definitely take advantage of that. They are a very knowledgeable group of people, and they're very, very responsive on the messages that they do get in. You can also email them at support-rm@tempo.io. All right. After that is our announcements. This is anything coming down the pipeline from Roadmunk ourselves. So any information such as new integrations with Monday.com and Pivotal Tracker, any upcoming webinars, etc. So you can take a look at that once in a while. Notifications, if you do get a new notification, you'll see a red dot beside this bell icon. And these notifications are if something goes on, some changes have been made or comments have been made on roadmaps that you own or that are shared with you. All right, so once in a while you'll see that you have new notifications in this area. So this brings us to road mapping today. So that's what we're going to start with. And the templates that I mentioned, I'm going to show you because I want to show you a few ways that you can begin roadmaps. So first, let's start with the templates, which is in our template area. If I go in here, I can see that we have a template available. And if I click into this template, you can see that the account administrator has set out certain account fields with proper naming conventions to be able to be used to start off a roadmap. Also, there are different visualizations. So the account admin can start visualizations for the end users with specific layout and color schemes. Okay. We have a timeline here. We have a swim lane as well. So this just gets the end user started off on the right foot and already starts a good method of standardization to their roadmaps. And user would go in, say, use this template. They can start it empty, so with none of the data included, or they can use sample items, which means that data will be included. And once they create their roadmap, they can make it their own and add data as they wish. Okay, so those are templates. Now we also have Roadmunk templates that we have within the system that have already been created, and they follow these certain themes. Okay, so you can use these templates to start your roadmaps, and they also have specific fields within them, specific layouts, visualizations. So if these meet your use cases, you can use these templates either empty, or you can use a sample data as well if that sample data happens to meet your use case. Okay, so this is how you would start with a template. Now we're going to go into Roadmunk and we're going to start a roadmap from scratch. So we would just add a new roadmap. Okay, so we're going to give this a name. All right, and create. Okay, so within Roadmunk, we have two different types of visualizations. One is a swim lane, which is a more flexible roadmap. It is a more agile roadmap, and that isn't as date dependent. And then we have a timeline, which is more date dependent. That's where you would map your task from start to end date. So it would be whichever road type of style of roadmap that you want to choose, okay? So for this one, we're going to create a timeline. All right. So this item view, this is where you hold all of your data. And you can start by adding items. Okay. The items are your tasks you're going to be working on. So let's go iOS app. Okay. That's the first task that we're going to be working on. And we press enter, so it goes in, it stores it as an item, and then we add our dates. So we can add a start to end date, okay? And that's one way that we can add the dates. We can also add bucketed date terms. So if you're not working on these tasks with sticky dates, you're working on it as more of an agile roadmap, that's where you can use the bucketed terms. So we have these types of terms that are already within Roadmunk, okay? Or you can add your own. So if you want to customize those bucketed terms, you can add your own, okay? So after you've applied your dates, from there, you would add the fields that we've been speaking of. So these are all of my fields that I have available to me. Okay, so if I wanted to take a status field, then I can apply my statuses to these particular tasks. Okay, and again, if I have an owner field, all right, then I can apply the owner to these tasks. Now, the way that you make a field is you go add field, and then you create a new field. Now, the fields, they start as a Roadmunk field, and then they start as a roadmap field just pertaining to this roadmap. And then we promote them to be an account field if we feel that there's something that would be used across the account. So we're going to create a priority field. Okay, that field can be a list field. It can be a team member field. So if you make a team member field, this is how you can assign team members to your tasks. It can be a number field, and that can be currency, percentage, or general. So percentage complete is good for a number field, or currency. So if it's something such as budget, it can be a multi-select field to add multiple values within to assign to your task, or it can be just a free text field. So this one's going to be list. Okay, so this is priority. So we're going to have a low priority, a medium priority, and a high priority. And we're going to create that field. Now that we have our priority field, we can pick the value that applies to this task, okay? So this is going to be a medium priority. So that's how you would start building out your roadmap from scratch. Now, this is going to be kind of like a cooking show where you start with all your ingredients and you start chopping and dicing and getting all your ingredients together. Then you put it in the oven and voila, we have a perfectly made roadmap, okay? This gets us some data so we can play more with the extra features, and we can start taking this data and making visualizations. So this is a fully populated table view, okay? So we have all of our items or all of our tasks here. We have the dates that are pertaining to those tasks and the fields across the top. Now, when we're looking at these fields, and you know what, I do want to go back. I actually missed a step there, sorry. I want to show you how to promote those fields to account fields. All right, so we started out with a roadmap field. If I hover over top, you can see it says that this priority field is a roadmap field. But I feel that these priority terms, low, medium, high, they're going to be used across the account because they're very general. They'd be very common. So I'm going to promote this to be an account field. So I go into edit fields, go down to the bottom, and here you can see it's telling me this is a roadmap field, meaning it's just belonging to this one roadmap. Go down to more actions and I promote. Now it's an account field. Now it's available across the account to be used on multiple roadmaps. And because this is a very common type field, priority with these types of terms, this is a perfect type of field to be an account field, okay? So I wanted to make sure that I went over that step before we go into making these visualizations. So now we're going to go back and I'm going to go to my favorite roadmaps. And just a tip here, if you're working on roadmaps, certain roadmaps all the time, and you don't want to be choosing through this entire list of roadmaps, okay, you can favorite your roadmaps by clicking on this star. It's like bookmarking. And then when you go into your favorite roadmap folder, you'll only see those specific roadmaps that you work on all the time, okay? So we're going to go into our Fallout team roadmap, and we're going to look at that table view. So like I was mentioning, you see all of your fields across the top, and if I hover over, I can see that these are account fields, okay? We have a percentage complete field, so that is a numerical field that was built And now by using this, we can see the percentage that each task is complete. We have a spend to date numerical field, so that will be able to give that information, and et cetera, et cetera. Now this table view is where you're going to store all of your data. So it can be what you're putting on one roadmap, or store as much data as you want to in here, because this is how you're going to be able to make multiple views and choose which data you want to put on those visualizations, depending on what you're wanting to accomplish with the roadmap, or what audience you're wanting to speak to with the roadmap. Say if you're doing some collaboration between teams, or doing some presentation to, say, a leadership team, okay? So now we're going to take this data and we're going to create a visualization. So we do that by going Add View, okay? So with this one, we're going to start off with a timeline, okay? And this is going to be all data. So we're going to take all of this data and we're going to take a look at it in a timeline, and we're going to create. Okay, so this is all the data that we were just looking at. It doesn't look like much right now, but we're going to take our formatting tool up on the top right here, and we're going to do some formatting to the layout and to the colors so that we can make some sense of this data. Okay, so first off, we're going to choose a header. So your header, which is going to populate along the left-hand side, is your fields that you made. So for this specific roadmap, we're going to choose a header of the department. So you'll see that update. Now you can see that all of those tasks are divided into which department they belong to. Now you can keep just as a header, or you can also add a subheader, which will further break down that information. So we're going to go subheader, and we're going to break it down by the priority of each one of those tasks. Okay, so now we see that we have each department and then which priority these tasks fall into. Now, when you're first creating a roadmap, you'll see these empty lines. We call those empty headers. That just means there isn't any data within those headers at that time. So you want to hide them by clicking onto this box, and that will clean up the view. So now you have a nice clean view to work with. Okay, if you want to expand these headers, you can just drag this expansion line, and it will make more room for the titles within those headers. Now we can go down further and add more granular information. Okay, if we have item progress set up as one of our fields, like I do, you can put your percentage complete. Now you can see that the percentage is on top of the line, as well as the line shades in the percentage that it is completed. You can add a further label suffix. So for instance, if I wanted to add the owner, I now can see each owner of each task above the line. As we go down, milestones and key dates, I'm going to get to those in a little bit, and we'll talk about those further when we get to that point, okay? So now we have our layout all completed, and it didn't take us any time at all, and now it makes more sense and is organized. So next we're going to go to colors and choose a color scheme for this, okay? So you can color by a certain value, or sorry, a certain field. So these are the fields that we built. You can color by your pivot points. My pivot points are department and priority, or you can color by something else. So for this roadmap, we're going to color by priority, okay? So we see that each priority adopts the color that the header is colored itself. Okay, we do have 6 templated color palettes within Roadmunk. These top 6 are our templated colors. So we're going to keep this one on autumn. You can also create your own color palette, which is called a customized color palette. Now, the reason that you may want to do that is for branding purposes, or you may want to just use the same color scheme across your roadmaps to maintain consistency of the visual look of it. The way that you make a custom color palette is you go add palette, give it a name, Okay, you copy colors from one of our existing palettes, and then you change those colors to make them your own. So here we can see we have a custom color palette. You go down to those items. So now I want my low priority items to be more of a bright red color. Okay, so I click on a bright red. I can also put a hex value. Okay, so that changes it up really quickly. My medium, I want to be more of a green color. Okay, and then my high, this is how we can change it out so that you can customize the colors within your roadmap. Okay, and then because this custom color palette is available across your account, you then tell your team members that, okay, I created a custom color palette called the webinar palette. When you create your roadmap, can you please use the webinar palette to create your roadmap as well? Okay, so that's how you would customize the colors. All right, now what I want to show you above along the top, this is where our timeline is. So you can see right now it's showing as all in months. If I click into the timeline, I can show this in months, quarters, halves, or years. So we can change this up to quarters. Okay, and you would just go along the line and change it to what you want to visualize your timeline in. As well, if I want to maybe zoom in on specific quarters, I can do that by using our time selector, and I can drag and drop the time selector so that you're looking at more specific quarters, okay? And then if you see this red line, that is our today line. So these are the tasks that are happening today. Okay, so I'm just going to zoom back out on this. All right. So now that we have our timeline created, I want to go on to talk about some more of the features within Roadmunk that you can use on your timeline. Okay, so first we're going to start with sub-items. So many times you have a parent task or an item, a task, and there are child items that make up that parent item. We call these sub-items. If you see the icon like this, a step icon, that means that this item has sub-items. If I hover over top, I can see what those sub-items are, okay? And if I click into this item bar, it will show me that this item has sub-items. So to add a sub-item, I can click add, and then you can either create a brand new item on your roadmap and create it as a sub-item, or you can type in a key term of one of the items that you know is on your roadmap to make it a child of this parent. So that's what I'm going to do. I know I have palette manager on my sub-item, and it belongs under this parent item of custom color palettes. So I type in the key term, and if I update, it will now add that as a sub-item, okay? So now if I hover over top, I can see that we have 3 sub-items. I can also show these as standalone on my roadmap by toggling the standalone switch, okay? And those sub-items will fall below or very close to the parent item. If I hold my cursor on that parent item for a bit, it'll gray out everything else, and you'll just see the parent item and the sub-items that belong to it, okay? So that's how we would create sub-items. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is linked items. Many times you're working with tasks on your roadmap that are related to each other, and you want to show them, you want to show that they're related, okay? So I'm going to use social platform and influencer platform. These two are related, and I want to show you the relationship. So if I go onto social platform and click in this area, I see my linked items here. So I'm going to add a linked item. We have 3 different types. One is relates to, which just means these 2 items are related somehow. The other is moves with, which means if one item has to move out because, say, capacity isn't there to work on this right now, so it's moving out by a month, then the other item that it's linked to will move out by a month as well. And the other 2 is blocking and block by. These are basically the same, puts a rule around it that one task has to be finished before the other task can start. So we're going to use moves with for this example. And then you type in the key term of what you're attaching this to. So I'm going to attach this to influencer. Okay, the influencer platform. Now I'm just going to go out of here for a second because I want to show you that if I click on this menu, you can see that this shows me other names of other roadmaps. So I can link items not only on this roadmap I'm working with, but I can link my items to other roadmaps if they happen to be related to each other in some way. Okay, so again, I'm going to go influencer. Here's my influencer platform. That's what I want to add. Okay, let's use a different example. Okay, remarketing campaign and content marketing strategy. Let's use that one, okay? All right, so I want to add marketing campaign to this one. Okay, so I find, okay, we're going to add a marketing dashboard and update. Okay, so now I can see that there's a one icon on this bar. That means there's one linked item. Okay, now when I click into the item bar, I can see that marketing dashboard is the linked item, and we're going to make it and it's a relates to. Okay, so if I click on this, all right, we should be able to see it. Okay, I want to show you the example of how we can move these together. Okay, let's take that one off. Okay, here we go. We're going to make this a moves with. And let me do that. Okay, we're only able to make relates to at this time. Okay, we're going to attach that to flat UI, update it. Okay, so you can see the one icon here and the one icon here. If I hover over top, it's going to draw a line to whichever item it's linked to. Now, if I go to the legend on the side, which I can flip out by clicking on it, because we do have those three different type of linked items, the type of line tells the story of what type of linked item it is. So a dashed line is blocking. A solid line means it's a moves with linked item. A dotted is relates to, and a double line would come from an integration such as Jira or Azure DevOps. Okay. So like we see here, it's a dotted line, meaning that it's a relates to linked item. Okay, so that is how you would link items together. Now, I want to talk about specific dates that you may want to add to your roadmap. So specific dates, we're going to start with ones that pertain to tasks themselves. We call these key dates. So there's, dates that you want to stand out on this task itself. So we're going to use cross-browser testing suite. Okay. Key dates are right above the main date field. I'm going to add a key date, and we're going to go add a phase one to this. And then you pick the date that this phase one is going to be happening. Okay, so this is going to be happening on January 15th. You can also drag and drop this little icon here to change the key dates. All right, then I can add another, and this is going to be our launch. And we'll pick the date that that's going to be happening, and that's happening April 30th. Okay, and then when I update, you can see on my cross-browser testing that those key dates stand out now. So visually, It shows me their important key dates that have to do with that task, and that also communicates it to other people that are looking at my roadmap. Now we have this as well as it pertains to the entire roadmap itself, and we call those dates milestones. A couple ways we can add them. One is through the milestone tab. Okay, we add a milestone, and we're going to add a launch. Okay, so we have a launch, then we have the date that is applicable to that launch, and then we want to choose what department that launch is going to fall under. Okay, so it's going to fall under product, under department, the product department, and we're going to choose what milestone type that is. So this one is a launch. Now when I go to my timeline, okay, I can see my launch here. I can also add a milestone on the roadmap view itself by toggling this to milestone. This is going to be a conference. Okay, and we choose that this is going to be a meeting. Okay, it's an airplane because it's going to be in Hawaii and we're all flying to it. Okay, and then we grab onto this handle and we drag and drop it to where we want this to be. Okay, there we go. All right, so that's how you would add milestones to your roadmap. So that is important dates that are happening as they pertain to the roadmap itself. So now I want to take you to a swim lane and show you how all of this looks on a swim lane. So I have some visualizations built out here, okay? I'm going to go to a swim lane by ownership. So this shows me a swim lane with the porters and who is the owner of these tasks that are on the swim lane. As well, I have it colored by priority, okay? So the tasks themselves are colored by the specific priority that they fall into. So you can do this with your coloring tool in the formatting tool. The layout, I've used porters as my headers, okay? And you can use time type headers, item dates, or you can also use your existing fields if I wanted to use the fields across the top. All right, so we'll keep that as is. And then the row header across the side, I've chose to use owner, and you can choose again whichever field that you want across the side. All right, and we've added the percentage complete to the cards. We can add a label suffix as well. So if we wanted to add, say, the priority that each one of these is, you can add that. Now from here, if I wanted to, say, reassign one of these items, I can do that just by dragging and dropping, say, from Farah to Carly. And that's going to reassign this to Carly. Now, keep in mind that if you do move and reassign or move any of these items within this visualization, it is also going to change them in any of these other visualizations, okay? All right, so this is how you would look at this in a swim lane. I want to, because you can make multiple visualizations, as you can see here, these visualizations speak to your audience. So this that we're looking at now would be good to speak to, say, a product management team, okay? Now, maybe we want a leadership view. So we have a swim lane, and we have all of the stages, and we have the priority process side. But your leadership, they're not going to want to look at what's low and medium in priority. They want to look at what's highest and high in priority. So that's where you can use our filters to add a filter by priority, and we want the highest and we want the high. We update the filters, and now we can see that it's only those tasks that are high and highest in priority, okay? And that's how you can easily make visualizations that are easily accessible in one click, rather than always having to put filters on the visualization and take them off. If you just create those additional visualizations, they're there already for you to use. I want to show you from here, now that we've built the visualizations, how can we share these? So how can we share these within Roadmunk and outside of Roadmunk? So within Roadmunk, if you want to share this with one of your fellow Roadmunk users, you go to our sharing center and you type in the name or the email of that user. So I can see all of my users here. So I'm going to share this with Dave. And as the owner of this roadmap, I can choose the permissions. Dave is a collaborator, has editing permissions. But if I want the people I'm inviting only to have view-only access, I can change that as the owner, okay? As well, if your account administrator has set up teams within Roadmap, I can invite a team to my Roadmap, which sends an invitation to this Roadmap to, instead of an individual user, it shares this Roadmap to all 4 members of the All-Star team, okay? When I save that, whomever I save it to will get a link in their email inbox, as long as they have those notifications I showed you set up, and that will direct them to this roadmap. That's how you share internally. Now, externally, we have the option to export. Okay, when I go into our export center, I can export to PNG, which is great for, say, PowerPoint presentations or PDFs, HTML, which will give the code to be able to embed into something like maybe a Confluence page or some sort of intranet. And then a URL, which is a very popular export option. And I'm going to use a different roadmap for this one. I'm going to go to a timeline. Go to our timeline, all data view. That will be better. I just want it to be a better visualization when I'm exporting it. So we're going to export to URL, okay? So exporting to URL, it provides a link that you can send to the users, to your end audience, that they can access and see what's going on with your roadmap, okay? You can change the dimensions and resolution. You can change the layout. You can hide fields. So if you remember, in this roadmap, I had spend to date. I don't want anybody to see that externally, so I'm going to hide that field, okay? And then I can choose to auto-publish, which means any changes I make, the audience will be able to see them in real time. I can show those linked item lines that we made, password protect, and vision statement. And now I'm going to publish it to URL. And I'm going to copy that link so that you can see what your audience sees and how they can interact with your roadmap when they do receive that link. So you can see when it's working. I'm going to open the link now. This is what your audience will be able to see. So you can see all of our milestones. You can see our key dates. You can see that linked item line. There's also a legend at the bottom, which tells you the colors and the linked item lines, what they mean. Now, if I click into one of these item cards, I can see that this has sub-items. I can see which department's working on it, how much it's completed, the priority, who it's assigned to, etc. So this is a way that you can share your roadmap outside of Roadmunk, okay? All right. Now, if you want to send out a new roadmap, say you do a whole overhaul, you need to send out a total new roadmap, you would just delete the published URL, and that audience will no longer have access to that URL, and you'll send them out a new one, okay? The last thing I want to talk about is portfolio road mapping. So like I've mentioned, portfolio roadmaps are if you have 2 or more source roadmaps and you want to make a larger roadmap from that, okay? You would do that by going add roadmap, and you want to start a new portfolio. So you give it a name, and you choose whether you want that portfolio to be a swim lane or a timeline, and create. Okay, across the side here, it's going to give you your options of your source roadmaps, and that's where I mentioned that naming conventions and keeping this standardized really helps, because easily you can choose which source roadmaps you want to include in your portfolio. Now, at any time, you can come back to this area and change up those sources if you wish to do so. So this formatting, it defaults to your roadmap source, okay? So now I have all these two roadmaps in one. And then you can format it using the format tool, exactly like you would have formatted a source roadmap, okay? And you can also color it, whoops, one, the same way. One option with the coloring is that you can choose to color by roadmap source. So in this way, your items adopt the color of the roadmap that it came from. So when you do change the roadmap, if I change the header and I want to change this by department, okay, then what's going to happen is all of my items are going to be mixed together. But because I colored my items by the roadmap source, I can easily see that the red is from my Fallout team and the green is from my Avengers team, okay? Now, when I go to my items, this is where I want to point out the importance of account fields. Now, I can see here my Fallout team and I can see my Avengers team. And you can see that for department, stage, category, and percentage complete, both teams have used the same account fields. This means I don't have two fields called department that my Fallout team used one field called department, my Avengers team used a different one that they created themselves called department. And now I have duplicates and I have to clean them up and move values back and forth. If you know what account fields and you use naming conventions to say who they belong to, who should be using it, then that's when these portfolio views come together nice and neatly, and you'll be able to make really effective portfolio roadmaps, okay? And again, your custom templates that you create and start your users off with these account fields will help that be accomplished as well, okay? So that's what I wanted to show you today. And we are going to go into some question and answer.
Yep. Okay. Thank you, Cheryl. We've got amazing questions actually coming in. So let's go into the first one. Can you switch between a swim lane roadmap into a timeline roadmap or vice versa?
To answer the question, the best way that to do that is to create visualizations, okay? So I'll give you this example. I have a timeline roadmap that is for my leadership view. It has a filter on it of what's high and highest priority. I also have a swim lane roadmap for the exact same thing. It's just a different visualization of it. So the best way to switch back and forth is to create those visualizations, okay?
All right, awesome. Another one is, can you block out times you don't know when it will be done, but you know it will take 2 months? I believe this is when you're adding in a project or an item to your fields. So if they don't have actual dates, but they know that it will take 2 months to complete.
So kind of like a placeholder type thing.
I assume.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking too. What I would do if I wanted to do that is I would make in an additional field and maybe call it placeholder field. Okay. And no, actually, that wouldn't be because you can't. I'm thinking out loud here.
Okay, maybe we can get kind of a follow-up or an explanation to that
Yeah,
question. I
and
can move on to the next one.
that
And
sounds good.
is it possible to change all the date headers to a format at once? Specify all quarters or all half years?
You can change the dates. So if you wanted to change the dates as such, you can use bucketed dates. Okay. So if this task landed in quarter 1, you could just add quarter 1, etc. So if these tasks happen to, fall within those quarters, that's where you would add your bucketed dates, and you could add it. Add November. Oh, we just cleared it out. Okay. So you can just add bucketed dates. If we wanted to add more, you can press on the three dots and then just customize this, add a value to what those bucketed dates would be for you. Okay.
Okay. Another question. How do you avoid when you attach children tasks as a part of a parent task? Roadmunk changes the start and due dates without me telling it to. Is there a way to stop that from happening?
With the parent tasks, and I do understand that's a good question. With the parent tasks, you are right. If I go to the timeline, the parent will adopt the start, sorry, the most beginning start date. It'll adopt that start date and it'll stop the very end date, and it'll make this bar. It'll make this bar that from the beginning to end of the earliest start date to the latest start date. That's how it is right now. And there isn't anything around that right now, but we are working on it so that doesn't happen. So stay tuned for that in the future because it is something that's currently being worked on.
Okay, awesome. Another way that you can track all of these things that we're changing in terms of features and even new things coming out, new features, new integrations. One of the linked resources in our slide deck is the Roadmunk roadmap. So it's a public roadmap that you can follow. It will help you keep track of what's coming and what's changing. All right, let me see some of the other questions that we have here. My items are showing up on the same line in my timeline. Is there a way I can set it so that they show up on different lines or more like a waterfall?
Okay, and that's a great question. And that is a feature that we do have. So for instance, under my product timeline, under my medium priority tasks, you can see that these all fall on the same line. And sometimes you want them shown on different lines. If you right click on the medium header, you can cascade the rows. You cascade the rows, it will show them all on separate lines, okay? So you can cascade them. You can also go back to the condensed rows if you want. All right.
All right, awesome. And then another question we have, how do I change an item from list to multi-select?
Okay. So if I go into what this question is asking is, I'm going to go into one of my fields and I'm going to edit it. So this is a list field and it's asking, how can I take this list field and make it into a multi-select field so I can choose multiple values to add within the cell? Unfortunately, that's something that you can't do, okay? Once you choose the type of field that this is and you choose save or update field, then it will be that way. If you want to make a multi-select field after you have created this as a list field, you'll then have to create a new field for a multi-select, okay?
Okay. Another question. Could you please show how we can add an item while filtering is being used?
Add an item while filtering is being used. Okay, so let's see. I have this timeline filtered. Okay, now to add an item to your roadmap, you can do it in a couple ways. You can add an item here on the table view. You can also add an item from your roadmap view. Okay, you can add a new item. You can give it a name. All right, and we're just going to go iOS app. And then you can take this, grab a hold of the handle and place it. So this one, we're going to place it under the dev department and it's high priority. Okay, so that's one way that you can add an item. And this is a filtered view. Now, the other way, if you're wanting to add an item that doesn't meet that filter, okay, I would go to the table view and add it here.
All right, perfect.
Okay.
All right. How do I change the color of items?
Okay, so the color of items, if you wanted to change that, and I'll just go to all data. If you want to change the color of items, you would use the color palette. So that's in our formatting tool under colors, okay? And choose what you want to color by. Right now I'm coloring by priority, okay? You can choose to color by whichever you wanted. So say maybe I want to choose to color by stage. And this is where I can use our templated color palettes, or I can create my own color palette, all right?
Amazing.
So yeah, exactly.
All right, perfect. Thank you, Cheryl. So that's all the time we have for the Q&A section. Hopefully we got to mostly everybody's questions. There were a lot of great ones. Thank you everyone for attending and have a great day.
Thank you.